Welcome to the Uncompromising Faith Podcast. Why don't you pull up a chair and make yourself comfortable? My name is Homer Less, and along with my wife, Wanda Ring, we are inviting you to join us as we explore what it means to walk by faith. One of the great mysteries of following God is, how do we know when He's leading us? This is one question that Wanda and I and our family would ask quite often when we were going through our wilderness journey. You see, it's not easy to know where God is leading you, because the journey of faith means that we don't know. We don't get the answers beforehand. And because of that, there are a lot of times when it feels like you're stumbling around in the dark. This is where trust is built. This is where faith grows. It's the fact that we don't know where God is leading us that causes us to have to trust Him. But there is one thing that God did give us on our wilderness journey that helped us understand what this looks like. A great writer of old, by the name of George MacDonald, wrote a story called The Princess and the Goblin. It is a quaint tale about a young girl whose best friend is kidnapped by goblins. She needs to find him. She wants to find him, but they've put this young boy in a very deep, dark place under a mountain. She had no way to get to him. She had no way of knowing what the path was. But she turned to her grandmother, the grandmother being an example of the Holy Spirit in George's story. And this grandmother gave the young girl a spool of silver thread. It was a gossamer filament, so fine that you could almost see it, but not quite. You see, the thread was so fine that in order to follow it, you had to hang on to it. You had to touch it. You had to feel it with your fingers. So one day, the goblins came up into the girl's house, intending to kidnap her. But she hid away and could not be found. Then the goblins disappear, and this brave little girl started to follow the silver thread that her grandmother had given her, which went directly in the path that the goblins were taking. The way was dark. She went into the mountain, through various tunnels, and even though she could not see where she was going, she felt the silver thread. It was in her fingers. And because she trusted in her grandmother and she trusted in that thread, she followed it by touch alone. Eventually, she came upon the young man and was able to rescue him. The young man was very concerned because there they were in the heart of the mountain, surrounded by goblins. How could they get out? But the young girl was not at all concerned, because she knew she could trust in the silver thread. And so her and the young boy followed the silver thread, which they could not even see, but they could feel. And slowly, the thread led them out to safety. You see, as we walk with God, we don't know where we're going, but we have to learn to trust the subtle lead of our Father as He leads us into places and into situations where He alone gets the glory and our faith is built. Many times on our homeless journey, it looked like we were being led into a very hopeless situation. We didn't know if we would survive the night sometimes. But God had a purpose. Every time He led us into a situation, and every situation He led us into, was for a definitive reason. A reason that we didn't understand at the time, but God knew. And God was going to not only get us into that situation, but He was also going to provide for us through it and get us out when it was time. And in all of this, God got the glory because He alone knew what He was doing. Our job wasn't to figure that out. Our job was to follow the silver thread. So today, as you walk by faith, as you step out in faith, you may not know where you're going. In fact, you probably don't. And that's a good thing. But you could trust in one thing, and that is that God has gone before you. And what He has given you is a silver thread for the steps ahead. You don't need to know the whole plan. It wouldn't help you if you did. What you need to do is trust in that silver thread, that subtle lead, the still small voice of God that will come to you and say, no, I want you to go this way. Because it's there. He is guiding and leading us. Every time you step out in faith, every time that you put your trust in Him, God will provide. So this day, I'm calling on you to not try to figure out this walk of faith, but simply to trust Him, to trust that His lead will lead you to where you need to go. Follow the silver thread.